out of 10 we have Get Out of My Swamp. That was my failed Shrek impression. But isn't this photo super trippy? Like on the left we got Shrek Swamp where he likes to take a dip in the algae. And on the right, it's crystal freaking clear. How is it possible that a single fallen tree divides the swamp like that? It's pretty cool, but insane. It literally looks like the tree is what's separating these two universes. Which universe would you want to be in? The one on the left, the duckweed algae universe, or the one on the right, the clear, calm universe? But seriously, it's insane how one tiny fallen tree partitioned the lake like that. Moving on to number 9, we have the mind-bending art. No, this photo is not photoshopped at all. This is a piece of work created by artist George Roos. He is known for creating quite mind-bending art. He has gone to a number of different abandoned spaces and created pieces like this, where it looks like you're in 2 different dimensions. The colorful fun dimension or the white and gray dull one. It's crazy how he does this only by using paint. My eyes literally can't comprehend this at all. The only thing is though, you have to be in the right location to view the image as so. From other angles, it will look messy. I don't care though, the fact that this guy is skilled enough to do this is enough for me. This literally looks like a portal to another dimension. Moving on to number 8, we have the Mexican mole lizard. I'm sorry, but hands down, this creature has to be from another universe. Just look at it. It looks like a naked mole rat, a snake, and a worm all got it on with each other, and this was the end result. Like, I genuinely feel uncomfortable looking at it. In fact, it's so unbelievable that it was even featured in Ripley's Believe It or Not, because no one can believe this is a real creature. So this lizard creature only has 2 arms. It doesn't have any hind legs. You know, like a normal lizard. And these guys can grow up to 9.4 inches or 24 centimeters. Like, that's insane and creepy. So basically, in another dimension, they have lizards that look like worms. Or should I say, in another dimension, they have worms that have faces and claws. Nana. In our 7th spot today, we have Schönbrunn Park. Hopefully I pronounced that right. If not, you guys are gonna come for me. It's okay. From the 18th to 19th century, the Schönbrunn Palace in Vienna, Austria was home to a number of emperors. The grounds were originally used as a small hunting lodge, but during 1683 it got destroyed during the Turkish attacks. As a result, it was rebuilt into something bigger and better for Maria Theresa, not Mother Teresa. She was an empress of that time and received the estate as a wedding gift, and everything had to be perfect, including the gardens. The palace was surrounded by beautiful Baroque gardens. The trees and hedges were planted in 1750 and go for over 30 kilometers. Every year, the gardeners use these specially constructed frames to get to the top of the trees and trim them so they look eerily perfect. This takes 7 months. I will repeat, 7 months to complete. That's insane. The way that all the trees line up perfectly is mind-blowing. It's very trippy. Also, count how many times I said trippy in this video and let me know in the comments below. But literally, it looks like this was shot in a parallel universe. Moving on to number 6, we have the frozen pond. Okay, this has to be the prettiest photo on this list. This is a frozen pond in Switzerland, and look how it froze over. In Canada, when lakes or ponds freeze over, it's just a solid sheet of ice. But this made a very detailed design. Literally, someone explain this to me. How come ice in Canada isn't this cool? This has to have been taken in a parallel universe. So there's a couple of explanations for this. One is that it froze like that because of the wind and water current. 2 is that the water in Switzerland is magical. 3, the ice sheets broke and then refroze together. But I'm gonna go with number 2. The water in Switzerland is magical. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with the lenticular clouds, aka the clouds from another dimension, or some people call them the UFO clouds. So these clouds typically form when the air is stable and winds blow across hills or mountains at different heights throughout the first and lowest layer of Earth's atmosphere, the troposphere. But sometimes these clouds have formed in places without mountains or hills. So what's going on with that? Not only that, but these clouds tend to stay in one place, the place that they are formed. Honestly, this is my first time hearing about these clouds and they're pretty crazy. Like, Why don't they teach us this in school? So hands down, in alternate universes, they have funky odd shaped clouds that don't really act like clouds. You know what I'm saying? In our fourth spot today, we have the melting building. Located at 39 Avenue in Paris, this building appears to be melting. Let me explain. So back in the day, this building was in need of some fixing. Instead of having ugly scaffolding on display, photographer Pierre Delavie took some pictures from when the building was in its original form and then printed that onto a canvas. But what he also did was take the building and distort it a little so that it would capture the public's eye. Then they hung up the canvas at the front of the house. So behind it was all the construction and scaffolding, but people would never know. This way they would walk the streets in awe instead of being disgusted by the under construction house. Unfortunately, if you had plans to visit this building today, you can't. The construction is now done and the canvas has since been removed. But I'm telling you, maybe they got trippy little houses like this in other universes. Maybe all the houses there look like they're from Whoville. Coming in at number 3, we have the Snake Man. Have you ever been eating noodles and then you sneeze or laugh so hard that the noodle shoots up the back of your throat and out your nose? No? That what? Probably. It hasn't happened to you? Lucky, it's not fun at all. Well, in another universe, noodles aren't coming out of people's noses. No, snakes are. Okay, are you seeing what I'm seeing? My first question is why? My second question is why? And third is, are you out of your mind? I don't understand why this man thought putting a snake in his mouth and out his nose was a good idea. Now, there are a number of reasons why that is absolutely terrible. Not only that, but the poor snake had to go through all that as well. And he looks pissed as hell. Look at him, he's ready to attack, you know? Anyways, this photo is so unbelievable that it seems as if it has come from a parallel universe. One where people don't have any common sense. Honestly, no. Snakes don't belong in any orifice. No. Moving on to number 2, we have the color blocked kitty. Hands down, this is the prettiest kitty I have ever seen in my entire life. And no, this image is not photoshopped. This cat not only has heterochromia with their blue and green colored eyes, but also has 2 different completely opposite fur colors. It's crazy how the cat is just split right down the middle. She is literally half of her mom and half of her dad. Her parents must have been a black cat with green eyes and a ginger cat with blue eyes. Genetics is just super weird, man, and I want this cat as my pet. I just wonder what her offsprings would look like though. And in our number 1 spot today, we have the Baju tribe. How long can you hold your breath underwater? Did anyone say 13 minutes? Well, the Baju tribe of Southeast Asia can hold their breath for around 13 minutes. And that's not them just being still underwater. That's them swimming around underwater and hunting for fish. In fact, they can dive down 30 to 50 feet without any diving equipment. They even have been known to walk directly along the sea floor. This image is of a child from the tribe. He's underwater playing with a shark or a fish. I literally can't tell if that's a shark or a fish. Is that child just a beast and is taking that shark down? Or is he holding onto a fish and getting a free ride? Anyways, these individuals have evolved to have an extra large spleen that is filled with oxygen-rich blood cells. That's what allows them to stay underwater swimming around for a long period of time without coming up for air once. But it seems as if they're from another universe. One where humans can breathe underwater. I would love to breathe underwater. Smash the like button if you agree. Starting off this countdown, we have SpongeBob. Who here is a fan of the sponge that lives in a pineapple under the sea? SpongeBob SquarePants. So if you answered yes, then have you seen the 2004 SpongeBob movie? The one where the 2 goofy goobers, SpongeBob and Patrick, set out to return King Neptune's crown to save Mr. Krabs, and then Plankton tries to take over and yeah. Well, if you've seen this, then in one of the final scenes, there's this whole musical number where SpongeBob rocks out to Goofy Goober. At one point, he bursts into a wizard outfit in white boots while rocking on a guitar. Well, take a look at this image. Do you remember SpongeBob playing on a white electric guitar or a weird peanut one? Let me know. I remember him holding a white electric guitar, but apparently that's not right, and he always had a peanut guitar. No, just no, that's not right. We fully switched universes because SpongeBob never had that guitar, I swear. Moving on to number 9, we have Cheez-Its. But apparently, that tasty cheese cracker is not called Cheez-Its, it's Cheez-It. Either I've been saying it wrong my entire life, or this is proof that we live in a parallel universe. Do you remember it being Cheez-It or Cheez-Its? Because honestly, Cheez-It doesn't make sense to me. It needs to be plural because there's more than just one cracker in the box. Now I'm just getting mad here, but someone's out there playing with us, I swear. Moving on at number 8, we have these circle clouds. Ever wondered what life is like in another universe? Well, they might just have circular clouds. Yeah, you heard me. Look at this real image of a circular cloud. Honestly, if I saw that, I would panic thinking that the end is near. Like, it's cool, but also, it's not right. Like, that's a glitch in the Matrix or something. Mother Nature is glitching. Or maybe that's what normal clouds look like in a parallel universe. Who knows at this point? In our 7th spot, we have the twins. Except the guys in this photo aren't twins. They're not even related. Yet they somehow dressed up in identical outfits and appeared at the same place, both reading newspapers. How creepy is that? Like, they even have the same haircut and hairline. Like, what is going on? I mean, the sweater is identical, same brand and logo and color. What are the odds? The only difference is that the man on the left is wearing black socks and the man on the right is wearing white socks. One of them is from a parallel universe for sure. It's the same dude, just our universe is glitching or merging with other universes or something like that. Coming in at number 6, we have the green KFC. So we all know that the KFC colors are red and white, right? Well, not at this KFC location. Since when does KFC have a green building? Hell no, that makes me uncomfortable. Even Colonel Sanders is wearing a green apron thing instead of a red one. That's not normal. That KFC is in another universe, I swear. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with the photo glitch. Okay, someone needs to explain this photo to me. It's not edited at all. The girl just somehow appeared to be gray in the photo. Like, it looks fake, am I right? How is that possible? Unless her goal was to be a gray Santa. This one just hurts my brain. Like, if anyone can genuinely explain this photo, then let me know in the comments below. Like, how did she appear colorless when everyone else in the photo is in color? I feel like I'm tripping out. Moving on at number 4, we have C-3PO. Who here is a fan of Star Wars? Hit that thumbs up button if you are. Well, a lot of die-hard fans were shook when they found out that C-3PO does not have an entirely gold body. That's right, apparently he's always had one silver leg. Okay, then explain this to me. How come when I was little, I had a C-3PO figurine that had 2 gold legs, okay? Someone explain that to me. What do you remember though? Apparently, a ton of fans just remember C-3PO being entirely golds. So, is our memory failing us, or are we universe jumping? In our 3rd spot, we have the Berenstain Bears. Okay, disclaimer. Buckle your seatbelts because I'm about to get heated and passionate for this one. So, do you remember the classic kids book being the Berenstain Bears or the Berenstain Bears? Because I remember it being the Berenstain Bears, spelled S-T-E-I-N. But no, I've been living a life of lies and deceit because apparently it's always been the Berenstain Bears. Stain, S-T-A-I-N. What? But I'm not the only one. Thousands of others remember it being the Berenstain Bears. So, theory goes that there are parallel universes out there. In this case, we have the Steen universe and the Stain universe. We lived in the Steen universe during the 90s when the books were out, but then later on, we somehow shifted into the Stain universe. Somehow, the universe ended up overlapping with ours, which is why we remember the Steen books, because they were real, but just in another universe. It's just driving me insane. Like, it was the Berenstain Bears. Okay, why would it be Stain? It doesn't make any sense, okay? Like if you agree. And at number 2, we have the Looney Tunes. Here's another one that will drive you mad. Or should I say, drive you loony. Sorry, I'll stop with the dad jokes. But do you remember the classic cartoon being Looney Tunes, T-O-O-N-S, or Looney Tunes, T-U-N-E-S? I remember it being Tunes, spelled with 2 O's. And that makes sense because it's a cartoon. But no, apparently it's tunes, like a music tune, which makes no sense again. Hello, it's a cartoon, not a music tune. I just want to go back to the Toons universe, like the T-O-O-N-S universe, because everything just makes more sense there, okay? They probably don't have COVID there. Just saying. And in our number 1 spot today, we had the Mona Lisa. Okay, this one really tripped me out. But do you remember the Mona Lisa having a little smirk on her face or a serious face? I remember her always having a slight smirk. Not a huge smile, but just a little something something, you know? But in high school, I was taught that she was serious and she didn't smile in the portrait. But get this. In a movie from 1931, it shows the Mona Lisa smiling. This movie is called The Theft of the Mona Lisa. Here's a clip from it. Now, of course, they didn't use the real Mona Lisa for the film, but wouldn't you think that they would get an exact replica for the film? Meaning that she had a smile. Because why all of a sudden would they use a Mona Lisa where she's smiling? Unless back in the day, she was smiling in the portrait, and then somehow we're now in a universe where in the painting, she didn't smile. Okay? But that's not all. In a 1962 Looney Tunes episode titled Louvre Come Back to Me, we can also again see the Mona Lisa smiling.
I can tell you chaps one thing. It's not always easy to hold this smile.
In the clip, she literally says, I can tell you one thing. It's not always easy to hold a smile. Bam! It's just proof that at one point the Mona Lisa did have a smile. You see how worked up I get over this? Something's going on here. We're in a parallel universe. It's tripping me out.
Starting us off at number 10 is the Berenstain Bears. So growing up in the 90s, this one was a classic. It was both an adorable children's book and also a TV show. And I mean, it was just a great story about a family of bears and a memorable part of my childhood. However, you would think, being so memorable and all, we would all be on the same page about how it was spelt. Apparently not. The Berenstain Bears falls victim to the Mandela effect because despite what many remember, the name Berenstain is spelt with an A, like stain. But many, including myself, would put money on the fact that it was Berenstein, like with an E. The first time I read this one, my brain broke a little, and I still have a hard time with it. But let me know, which spelling do you guys remember? Was it an E or with an A? Moving on to number 9, the Monopoly Man. When you think about Monopoly, you probably think about 10-hour games with your siblings that end up in tears, screaming matches, and somehow wanting to play it again, but you also remember that the Monopoly Man had a monocle, right? Apparently not. According to the company, photos, advertisements, and even giant balloons of the Moneybags character, he has never had a monocle. Not once. Yet still, so many people claim to have seen him sporting one for many years. I mean, it all just feels wrong. What parallel universe got the monocle Monopoly Man? Because apparently it wasn't ours. Moving on to number 8, Skechers. Another parallel universe Mandela effect in the spelling department is the popular shoe brand Skechers. Most people agree that the brand Skechers spells their name S-K-E-T-C-H-E-R-S. Mostly because, well, it makes a lot of sense, but also because that is how a large amount of the population remember seeing it spelled. However, in reality, or at least in this version of reality, the brand name spells it without a T, so S-K-E-C-H-E-R-S. Now, of course, some people attribute this Mandela effect to just a bad memory or you being a kid and not paying attention to things, which is totally fair, but there are many adults who are sure they bought shoes and the brand spelt the name with a T. So how do you explain that? I don't know, man. What do you guys think? Which one do you remember seeing? Next up at number 7, Pikachu. In the 90s, Pokemon was pretty much the biggest show there was. And if you ask just about any 90s kid, they will likely tell you that they remember Pikachu having a black end on his tail. But apparently, we are all in the same fever dream because the black tip on the end of Pikachu's tail never existed. Ash's Pikachu, along with all the others, had black ends on the ears and a brown base on the tail, but the tip was just plain old yellow. Now with this one, there could be a little bit of a reason aside from a possible clue of a parallel universe as to why we all have this collective memory. It has been proposed that because Pikachu's earlier evolution, Pichu, actually does have a black tail, our little brains remembered that and assumed the black part stayed, which might be one option. But the parallel universe theory is way more fun, so I'm gonna stick with that. Moving on to number 6. Abe Vigoda. Although Abe Vigoda will always be famous for his role in The Godfather, it will never be his biggest claim to fame. That's because in 1982, Vigoda was reported dead by People magazine. The only problem? He didn't actually die for another 30 years. Even crazier is that despite him still being alive and well 5 years later, a local newspaper in New Jersey reported him dead again. Naturally, this became a long-standing joke among comics. In fact, during a roast hour, comedian Jeff Ross said, "My one regret is that Abe Vigoda isn't alive to see this," which was followed by Vigoda jumping up in mock anger from his seat in the audience and shaking his fist at Ross. Thankfully, he seems to have had a good sense of humor about the whole situation, but still, how can not one but two companies declare and publish that a man has died who is very much still alive? Well, some think that's because he might have actually died in a different reality. Interestingly, when the actor actually passed away in 2016, reporters were hesitant to pick up the story just in case it was an error. Moving on to number 5. Fruit of the Loom. The famous underwear company was founded in 1851 and has been a household staple ever since. But it's not the spelling on this one that has people questioning if it's from a parallel universe, but the logo. As you likely know, the logo for the Fruit of the Loom is a bunch of fruit, an apple and some grapes, but some online argue that in the past there was a cornucopia present behind all the produce. The theory started a few years ago in 2018 when a Redditor started a thread in the Mandela Effect subreddit, and they posted a photo of what they remembered the Fruit of the Loom logo looking like, with a cornucopia behind all the fruit. And after they shared that, it turned out they were not alone. The Redditor even allegedly sent a DM to the Fruit of the Loom Instagram account to double check, and the employee who answered confirmed that no, the cornucopia had never existed, but that, quote, "even some of us are still convinced it was a thing." So apparently, despite the collective groupthink, the Fruit of the Loom logo has never, to the best of anyone's knowledge, included a cornucopia in its 130-year existence. Moving on to number 4, Henry VIII. One of the most famous Mandela effects is the well-known portrait of King Henry VIII, painted by Hans Holbein the Younger in 1537. In the photo, the king can be seen holding a glove, except many people don't remember it being a glove at all. They remember it being a turkey leg. Now, some say that the pop culture portrayal of King Henry VIII is to blame for the confusion. For example, in the 1933 film The Private Life of Henry VIII, the king devours almost an entire chicken, and while portraying the king in a 2004 episode of The Simpsons, Homer Simpson also munches on a turkey leg. So culturally, we kind of have this image that he's just always eating a piece of meat, I guess. But not only that, historians believe that King Henry VIII may have been the one to introduce turkey into Christmas feasts. So in that sense, it would make sense for him to be holding one. Still, apparently, according to experts, the turkey leg phenomenon is not real. At least, not in this universe. Moving on to number 3, emojis. There are so many emojis that honestly, when it comes to the lesser used ones, I don't think I could tell you what there is or isn't an emoji of. But there are some out there who are sure that they have used emojis that apparently never existed. One of these emojis is a left-facing seahorse. According to one Reddit user, they posted saying that they are dead set and even remember where the seahorse used to sit on the keyboard, to which many other online users agreed that they too remember a left-facing orange seahorse. But interestingly, that is not the only emoji that people remember once existing. Apparently, there has never been a robber. There's never been a slice of pumpkin pie with whipped cream, a hiker, a toaster, or a swordfish. Yet there are many who claim that they have a clear memory of using these emojis. Do any of you remember using these? Do you remember any others that apparently have never existed? Coming in at number 2, Shaggy's Adam's apple. Scooby-Doo was a huge part of so many people's childhoods, but according to some online, there appears to be something missing from the photos of the old cartoons these days. Shaggy's Adam's apple. One Reddit user, CyberGothicChe, posted saying, quote, "As I recall, Shaggy from Scooby-Doo had quite a large Adam's apple. In fact, I believe it was used for comical effect, both when he ate something and also when he gulped in fear. His Adam's apple would move quite a distance, indicating the movement of his throat muscles. Others have also noted that Shaggy has lost his Adam's apple. This seems to be a recent Mandela effect, as I have not heard it prior except once or twice." Now, many other Redditors responded in agreement, saying that they too remembered this Adam's apple. And if I think back to the old cartoons, I wanna say that I remember it too. Now, here is where it gets a little confusing. So there have been tons of different versions of Shaggy, and apparently in one version, the 2015 TV series, he does have an Adam's apple, but none of the other versions show that. Now, some have wondered if this more recent version, including the Adam's apple, is why we remember it always being that way. But then others have pointed out that it would be strange to just give him an Adam's apple out of nowhere if he never had one, even going back to like the 60s. So was it just animators trying something new, or did the Shaggy from another universe slip into this one? And last up in our number 1 spot, Jiffy. Depending on who you ask, the famous peanut butter brand is either called Jif or Jiffy. These days we are being told it was never called Jiffy, but there are some online who remember things a little differently. In a Reddit thread about the Jiffy peanut butter Mandela effect, user Albino Raccoon posted a photo seemingly proving that those who remembered Jiffy peanut butter were not losing their minds. In the post, he shared both a photo and a video of a restaurant menu that advertised what they called a Jiffy burger, and beside it was a photo of the classic peanut butter jar with the word Jiffy written across. Other Redditors responded in support. For example, Berenstain Stain said, quote, "I noticed this change about 10 years ago. Obviously, I didn't know about the Mandela effect at the time, so I assumed they just rebranded it. 10 years later, I find out it never existed. I'd sure love to know how I saw it in my mom's kitchen throughout my childhood then." Now, some think that believers of this particular effect are misremembering Skippy peanut butter, but I mean, what do you guys think? Team Jif or Team Jiffy?
At number 10, where is the rest of this apartment building? Man, that razor-thin building in the picture is something else. I mean, you cannot convince me that it's not one-dimensional. I mean, seriously, how the heck did they pull off this effect? It looks like 3 sides of this building just disappeared into the thin air, leaving it looking like a single one-dimensional side of an apartment building, missing all the rest of its walls. I'm telling you, man, it seems like either a parallel universe collided with ours just at that perfect spot, or this picture is proof that we live in a simulated reality and that the rest of the building simply failed to render. I'll let you guys decide in the comments. At number 9, the monster of Mariana's Trench. Now this one isn't a photo, but real life unexpected audio depicting what sounds like the freaking Kraken emerging out of the depths of the Mariana Trench. So a submarine descending into the depths of the deepest crevice on Earth, scientists heard an unidentifiable sound, which almost sounded like giant claws were carving into the side of the trench's walls. This weird noise, now known to science as the Western Pacific biotwang, love that word, got recorded multiple times between 2014 and 2015. Now, experts can't be sure on what exactly is making this horrific sound. However, they think, and emphasis on think, that it's the jam of a dwarf minke whale, or minke whale, a kind of baleen whale. But here's the puzzler. See, usually whales only belt out these sorts of sounds when they're flirting for a date, but this one is breaking all of the rules, playing its tune all year round and at the bottom of the trench. Why? Nobody knows. Maybe it's a whale, maybe it's freaking Cthulhu coming to get us. If you're enjoying the video so far, you can support the channel by pressing like, subscribing to Most Amazing, and ringing that notification bell. At number 8 is the airplane in space. Check out this incredible view from somebody's airplane seat. It seriously looks like the pilot got a bit carried away and flew the plane way too high, like straight into our atmosphere. I mean, that purple-pink cosmic display through the window is like, almost looks like a whole otherworldly galaxy out there. Now, logic is telling me that, for as mind-blowing as this seems, that this cosmic spectacle might not be intergalactic after all. Personally think what we're looking at here is a stunning pattern created by droplets of water freezing on the window in this particular pattern. Those frozen droplets can form these breathtaking shapes that mimic the beauty of a distant galaxy. So while I really want to believe that this plane is on its way to Alpha Centauri, it's probably just nature showing off its creative side. I can't quite think of an explanation for the colors though. I mean, have you ever seen the sky take on those shades of purple and pink? I mean, maybe we are looking at man's first interplanetary travel from the inside of a 747. At number 7 are perfect rows of bubbles in a pot of boiling water. This pot of boiling water is definitely something else. At first glance, you might have mistaken that water for a sheet of bubble wrap, what with how pristine the rows of bubbles are aligned. But alas, what you're looking at is actually perfectly synchronized boiling water, with the bubbles lined up in perfect rows, giving off that we live in a simulation kind of vibe. I mean, just look at it. It's like nature's created this perfect, orderly pattern in the chaos of this boiling water. Bubbles line up in these perfect rows, almost like they're following some sort of unseen code or snapping to a grid. Kind of makes you wonder if there's some underlying structure or design to everything around us, you know? Crazy how even the seemingly innocuous act of simply bringing water to a boil, you can spot these bizarrely organized patterns that hint at a glitch in the code of reality. At number 6 is the victim of the beast. This gravestone, belonging to Lily E. Gray, claims she lived from June 1881 to November of 1958, making it to 77 years old. But what's eerie about this tombstone, aside from the fact that somebody seems to have adorned it with what looks like an offering of garlic, is that it claims that Lily was a, quote, victim of the beast 666. Now that's the kind of thing that makes you pause and wonder. I mean, I would definitely consider grabbing a Ouija board to chat with Lily and find out exactly what the heck went down. Really curious to know the full scoop behind that eerie inscription. I mean, seriously though, seeing something like Victim of the Beast 666 on a gravestone is like stumbling upon a mystery that's just begging to be solved. Kind of thing that makes you want to start concocting wild theories and wanting to delve deeper into the story behind it. Now, I'm not really sure if this is supposed to be a reference or some sort of symbolic inscription or something else entirely, but it's definitely intriguing. At number 5, where the hell is this car parked? So here's the picture from a perspective of somebody sitting in their car, parked in their driveway, which is obviously outside. However, if you take a look in the rear view mirror, where you would expect to see the street or whatever the heck is behind the car, instead you're met with the sight of the inside of what appears to be an infant's bedroom with crib, rocking horse and all. The perspective almost makes it look as though the car was parked right inside, but I mean, that clearly ain't the case. It's mind-boggling. Perhaps this is a real-life glitch, or maybe just a portal to another dimension opened up right behind this driver. But come on, like, how does this even happen? You park your car and somehow the view from the back window is straight into somebody's bedroom? Perfectly unexpected and surreal. Now, I'm assuming that this is just one of those rare and totally baffling situations where everything aligns just perfectly to create this mind-blowing optical illusion. Either that, or The driver just stepped inside a real-life Twilight Zone episode. At number 4 is this airplane cabin fog. If I were someone with a touch of airplane anxiety, seeing my cabin filled with fog would definitely have me questioning why I didn't sneak a parachute into my carry-on. I mean, seriously. It's like this plane just flew straight into an interdimensional plane and entered the Stephen King mist reality. But even being indoors doesn't seem like a safe bet in this scenario. Crazy how something as simple as fog filling up a cabin can give off that eerie otherworldly vibe. So upon discovering this image, I just had to go digging for an explanation, and luckily, science actually does have an answer for this one. Okay, so here's the deal. Misty fog can pop up in your airplane for a few reasons. One biggie is changes in temperature and humidity. When you've got folks boarding and there's bringing in moisture from outside, especially if there's a sudden change in the cabin's conditions, it can cause condensation, and bam, next thing you know, it's fog city up in there. Now sometimes this could also be a little glitch in the plane's air conditioning or ventilation system, or maybe somebody keeps opening and closing the overhead bins a bunch, or there's a door constantly getting jiggled during boarding. Allegedly, all that can let in humid air, leading to the whole fog show somehow. So rest assured, it's not paranormal activity or anything. Apparently this happens a lot more often than you would think, and there are actually procedures in place for the flight crew to sort it out. At number 3, this partially rendered building glitch. Imagine strolling down the streets on a cloudy day, minding your own business, and suddenly you spot this building that seems like it's been playing hide and seek with reality. So there's this brick wall that seems like it's in the middle of being painted, but the color of the new paint is an exact match to the gloomy gray sky hovering behind it. It's like someone took a break halfway through painting and the background weather decided to join in on the fun by being all gray and moody. It's the ultimate accidental camouflage, making you wonder if you're witnessing a real-life Matrix glitch. The way the building's facade blends seamlessly with the sky creates this surreal effect, like our wall was only halfway materialized in our world. This is the part where you'd start questioning whether a painter overslept on the job, or this is the genius architectural illusion meant to mess with our heads. The brick wall seems to merge with the atmosphere, giving off this effect like when buildings partially render in video games. The kind of sight that makes you rub your eyes twice, making sure you're not living in a digital simulation. At number 2 is this interdimensional spider. This neon green spider looks like it's straight out of Dimension 42, minus the 42 insignia on its booty. Like, come on, you're telling me that this thing ain't radioactive? That I won't turn into Spider-Man if it takes a bite out of me? You must be the crazy one. Now, what's even eerier is how the spider has a white carnival clown looking face. Now, believe it or not, there are actually a plethora of spider species that are neon green, and this pretty faced little guy is likely part of the Mopsus mormon species, though I am not a spider expert, so I can't say for sure. Now, the reason behind this crazy coloration is either to attract mates or camouflage themselves. It seems like Spider-Man ain't the only one setting fashion trends here. And hey, this neon green spider might be a standout in its own right, but it's just one of the many examples of wondrous diversity nature has up its sleeve. And at number 1 is the don't care button. Have you seen this keyboard with a dedicated don't care button? It almost feels kind of rebellious to have such a key, but now that I know that it exists, I am seriously thinking that it should be standard on every single keyboard out there. Like, no kidding. I mean, who wouldn't want that level of carefree functionality at their fingertips? Imagine having a button solely designated for the don't care mood, like a magic portal to a world where you can just shrug things off with a click. But seriously, where the heck has this button been all this time? Honestly, I would definitely sign up to live in a reality where this don't care button is the norm. It's one of those genius ideas that makes you wonder why it hasn't been part of our lives from the get-go. Who knew such a single key could make life feel so refreshingly carefree?